Let's give it to him, Jimmy. Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome to Unfair Sports, where we take a pensive approach to the sports conversation. I'm your host, Jay, with your favorite co-host, Jimmy. Thank you for checking us out here on YouTube, as well as wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're there, like, subscribe, comment, rate us, and review us, and give us 5 stars. You think we deserve it? Meh, just give 5 anyway. Gifted. So in today's episode of Unfair Sports, we're going to dive right into a lot of NFL shockers. OBJ is out, but the Browns, did they prevail? A $7 challenge around the early lines going in this week to try to salvage the Frozen 5 this season. We're going to go one word on the NFL and slide in a little bit of college football because there's a lot going on. Hit us up on the Unfair Fan Line, 430-901-1906, and let us know what you think of the show. Give us your strongest opinions. Let us know how much you hate him, how much you love me, as well as how much you hate me and love him, even though we know that's not true. So hop in there, give us a call, leave us a message, 430-901-1906.
Jam Master JBCDEFG. What's going on?
What it do, babe? Yeah, that's quite interesting. I like that. ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Man, we had a crazy weekend in NFL, man.
It was
too crazy. I mean, we're going to open with shockers, but dude, like, we got people getting beat up by their own namesake. We got destruction of people coming back. We got people out with Dat Rona. We got people coming back from Dat Rona, and it's just, woo!
It was some of everything. It was a multiverse of madness is what it was.
It really was. It was. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, we had a lot of stuff that was not supposed to happen that happened. Like I said, people seeing double, and it was weird because even in the reflection there was a skin color difference, so it makes it even more interesting. So what exactly? So, but we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it right now. There was some big time shockers in the NFL this week, Jimmy, that we've got to address. First, we had the Dallas Cowboys go out there and lay something that I don't know what it is. The Buffalo Bills did the unthinkable. And then the Rams followed up with, I guess, maybe the expected, in theory. But we're going to start with the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys decided to come back home, welcoming Dak Prescott back to the field with a 30-16 L. At one point, they were down, 30-0. They were getting shellacked, and Mike McCarthy decided to keep Dak Prescott on the field to try to figure out how, I guess, to stimulate the offense. Really weird in my personal opinion, but we won't even argue his thought process behind that. So, Jimmy, because of this L and the way this L went down, is it fair to say or unfair to say that we should have concerns about the Cowboys?
It is unfair to say that we should have concerns about the Cowboys, and I say that in order to give hope to Dallas Cowboy Nation. As excited as they've been so far with how the team has been performing, how well they've played on offense, emerging stars on defense, it is completely 100% okay that you took this L from Denver at home, down 30-0 with 6:32 left, and Dak's still in the game. It is totally okay. Why is it okay? It's okay because just about every team at the top of the pecking order, AFC and NFC, that you can think of has had a bad loss like this that nobody can explain. It's one of those things that when they happen, what determines whether or not this is a championship team is how they're going to respond after this. So sometimes you need a victory like this where you're feeling yourself a little bit too much, where you underestimate your opponent, where you don't prepare as hard as you would for an opponent that you respect, and to show you that as good as you've become, you can still take that L if you don't show up, because on the other side of that, regardless of record, regardless of reputation and organization, those are NFL players just like you out there giving everything they have to in order to make a living and win this ball game. So they're not going to hand you anything. So I think the Cowboys, and really the Cowboys fans, some of them needed a loss like this. Not to say that they weren't humble, but just to get you to understand that as far as you've come, it's going to take more in order to get to where you want to be, especially at the top of the NFC, or maybe not I don't know. But so
top looks like no more.
Yeah, so this kind of loss can actually help you somewhat course correct yourself and tighten up some things that haven't been tight that you've gotten away with this season. Like, for instance, Trayvon Diggs, he's gotten them about 2 or 3 victories himself, and now teams are learning, go the other way. Treat him like Deion Sanders, just throw the other way or run the ball more. So that's made it a little bit more difficult for him to have the kind of impact on the game that he was having when they had that win streak. So one loss like this, it happens. It's okay. You cannot have 2, and how you play in this next game will determine really the way the rest of your season is going to unfold. But just one victory can actually, one loss like this can help you more than it hurts you.
Okay, so as much as I hate it, like you do on there, I agree with you. But I have 3 things that I recognize with this Cowboys situation. First and foremost, you're right. There's no reason to worry. It happens. Top teams have all lost a game that looked weird that they lost. We had like 3 of them this week.
Exactly.
So it happens. And it's good to get that out your system now. But there are 2 other things, though, that I was thinking about with this. First off, these are a couple of concerns I would have overall. The wide receivers appear to forget how hard Dak throws the ball, because every pass was hitting their stomach and falling right through their hands. Like, there was a few passes that in watching just the highlights, even on SportsCenter, they showed the wide receivers dropping just perfect passes from Dak Prescott. So either they were out of sync because Dak was out for a week and a half. That's a problem, because if he does have to take a week off, or if the end of the season and they basically got the Division I and the conference potentially won, and they take the week off, and you have another week off because you may have the number 1 seed, you're really going to be in trouble going into the playoffs. That's concerning, which leads to my second concern. You can't go, obviously a week without their quarterback is a problem. They look disheveled on the offensive side. Like I said, those passes that Dak was throwing, even they were on the money, the receivers just couldn't hang on to them. That should be your cause for concern, especially if you go, like I said, deeper into the playoff. Well, actually, when you get started with the playoffs and you work enough to get that number 1 seed and you get that week off. If they have 2 weeks off, you got problems. Now, that's the reason why I think McCarthy did keep Dak in the game. He needed the reps. He didn't play. They were bye week the week before. Dak was hurt before that at the end of that game where he hurt his calf. So they kind of needed him out there to get reps, get going, and I guess inject some confidence in them because of what was going on. Then let's go on the defensive side, like you mentioned. Yeah, they looked at Trayvon Diggs and realized 1 or 2 things: burn him or don't go his direction. Tim Patrick dusted him. Like I told everybody, that's the one concern I had about Diggs and the way him and Anthony Browns play defense. They live and die from the end, like from the 3-pointer that Golden State did and Oklahoma City did years ago. They live and die by that shot, to the point of, in Houston, to the point of you either going to win from it or you're going to lose from it. And they were cooking him. They were cooking him. When he went over the top, and I was like, feast or famine. That's what it is. Right. So Diggs couldn't get the interception because they were mentally prepared to either I'm going deep or I'm not throwing his direction at all. And that, to me, is something that the Cowboys will have to tighten up moving forward.
And, when we talk about concerns, usually when you hear the word concern, you get concerned just by hearing the word like, oh, this is a major issue.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be, but concerns in this sense is what you don't want to truly become a concern. Because I have 2 of my own. First thing is, you should not give up 190 rushing yards to, outside of Derrick Henry, you should not be giving that up to anybody, especially Melvin Gordon, who's like 35 in football years, and Javonte Williams, who's a rookie. I got to give it up to Denver, even though this is mostly about Dallas. Their game plan, I thought, was masterful. Vic Fangio, as a head coach, a defensive coach who's been in the league for years, for decades, finally looked like the Broncos looked like the team that we thought they would look like.
They're like a playoff team.
They're like a playoff team.
And they got rid of Von Miller, which I thought that would be a problem, but I guess that made them rally even better.
Yeah, because it makes everybody else have to play just a little bit better. And then when you combine that cumulative effect, it actually makes them somewhat of a defense that's as good or potentially at least better, at least for one game. But giving up 190 rushing yards, you cannot do that the rest of the season. Second thing, Dak Prescott, he didn't look right to me. Now, I know that there were some passes that his receivers dropped, and I think he was it was like 19 of 39. Is that what he was? Or am I thinking of somebody else? No, yeah.
19 of 39. You're right. No, you're right.
Pick. Yeah, but there were some of those passes that were just off target, that were long, which I guess you'd rather be long than short. But either way, he was off target, and that may come from because, like I said, a bye last week. So it's been basically 2 weeks since he's had game action, so I get that. But as far as his mobility from left to right in order to buy himself extra time in the pocket, he didn't look right. So I think that, Dak, he's going to be stoic. He's going to be a leader. He's going to say the right thing in the sense that the calf had no effect on me. And it didn't. It didn't affect his arm necessarily. But as far as his movement to get himself that extra split second to a second
that he's good at,
it wasn't there. So that calf is still affecting him. And since he made it through the game okay, and we haven't heard anything today, so he seems to have made out all right, he's probably going to be okay. But I think that was a part of it that had a little bit to do with Dak in the past game, is he wasn't completely himself because of that calf. And he may not be for the rest of the season if he continues to play on this calf every week without any breaks in between. So that's something to pay attention to as well.
I agree. I'm with you on that. So Cowboys fans, don't be too concerned. I wouldn't worry too much because, like you said, it happens, and we'll see what happens next.
Now they got Dallas next. So do they just need to focus on just win the game against the Falcons, who are 4-4, I think? So they actually become a little bit decent, or do they need to smash Atlanta in order to completely erase this debacle that happened against them? Right?
They got to smash just relentlessly. Go relentless, and we'll see with that. So we'll see if Dallas can actually do that.
Yeah.
Next game on here of the NFL shockers is the Buffalo Bills magically taking an L in Jacksonville 9-6. Jimmy, I think this is the lowest scoring game of the season so far, potentially. And I probably will be the lowest, period. But Buffalo went to Jacksonville's home and got demolished. I have a lot of concerns around this game, a lot more than I had with Dallas. Now, everybody's had a bad loss. This is Buffalo's second bad loss. They should have not lost that game against the Titans. They were a quarterback sneak away from, and they were my number one team in the AFC, and I may have to drop them in my power rankings this week because of this showing. But Josh Allen, the concerns I've always had about Josh Allen in moments, this is the game that Josh Allen looked like the Josh Allen we were concerned about coming into the league. They threw the ball 47 times. Now, everybody's big on teams throwing the ball a whole bunch. My big thing is if you're throwing the ball 47 times, I need you to get me averaging more than 5 yards per pass. He averaged 5.6. That's a problem. He only had 264 yards. He couldn't run the ball because he had 50 yards rushing on 5 carries. So obviously Buffalo couldn't do that against a Jacksonville team that we felt like basically was dead. And I guess Urban Meyer put a clinic out there on all the coaching staff for Buffalo and was able to come out here and win this game. Hell, Trevor Lawrence threw for 118 yards. Buffalo's defense did their job. Buffalo's defense gave up a total of 218 yards, Jimmy. That's it. That probably is the lowest this season by any team, by any measure. But they didn't even give up 100 yards rushing. Jimmy, 218 yards. That's what the defense did, and the offense figured out not to help him out. This is how they didn't help. Josh Allen had 2 picks. He also had a fumble. Guess who got a pick and a fumble recovery? Josh Allen. Yes, no, not himself. He didn't intercept himself or fumble to himself. The Josh Allen's a defensive end for the Jaguars. And he put up...
So this is the Josh Allen from the multiverse that's actually black and a defensive player.
Yes.
That comes into this universe where we have white Josh Allen.
And who's a quarterback. Exactly. He just jumped around. So that's a concern to me that that the Bills actually let Jacksonville do this. Do I think that Buffalo's in trouble? No, but I am concerned that this team figured out a way to bring out the Josh Allen that we don't want to show up. We want like the Dr. Jekyll, Mrs. Hyde. We want to go ahead and zip up one of those and kick out the one that's bad and keep only the good one. He's letting both personalities populate, and that is where my concern came out.
This is a real concern. This is their third loss of the season, right? This is a real concern because of all the top quarterbacks in the NFL, and many people will place Josh Allen amongst the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's been an MVP candidate both this season and last season, obviously, when he finally broke through.
Yep.
But of all the top quarterbacks, top 4 or 5 quarterbacks, all of them find a way, as ugly and gross as this game was, all of them find a way to win this game.
That's true.
Josh Allen did not, which means that he failed to elevate his team in a game where nothing was going right, where nothing was pretty, where you had no run game. You've hardly had no run game all season, where you couldn't get Diggs in open space, where you couldn't get Beasley in the slot as much as you want to pick apart defenses on third down. Nothing was going right. And this was the game. This is the kind of game that Super Bowl winning quarterbacks like him with his talent level have to be able to win. That he could not elevate his team to win this game, that in a sense he helped the team to beat themselves against Tennessee and whatever that was in the first game of the season against the Steelers. There's no way I can trust this Bills team going into the postseason because I can't trust Josh Allen when the chips are down and things aren't going right to elevate the team. Whether we win by 1, 10, or 100, even if it's by 1, I cannot trust Josh Allen to win in a game like this where they're not boat racing the other team by 30 points.
Yeah, that's
my problem.
One. That's the biggest one is that they're not boat racing. If they're not boat racing the team, they're not any good. And the 3 losses they had this season, and the three losses they had this season were to teams that provide the exact same thing that we've started to see this season. The Steelers beat in first week game of the season. The Steelers have a really good pass rush. TJ Watt out there abusing people. The Titans we saw what the Titans did, and we'll talk about them next. We saw what the Titans did against the Rams. They've got a pass rush. Who was that they picked up? Who was that, Dupree?
Bud Dupree. Who I made fun of at the beginning of the season.
You did. Yes. And Bud Dupree went out there and was eating him up as well. And the entire defensive line was getting pressure on Josh Allen, making him work. Jacksonville, what they used, Josh Allen went after Josh Allen. So as much as we're joking about the Josh Allen piece, Josh Allen out of Kentucky was a top 10 pick, if I'm correct.
He was a number 7 pick.
Number 7.
Just like Josh Allen.
There you go. He was number 7 pick. So he went out there and he went after the other number 7. That is...
Yes.
Okay.
Back-to-back draft.
All right.
I'm telling you, they're the same person, different multiverses. That's all that is. Matter of fact, so what college did Jags Josh Allen go to?
Kentucky.
Okay, so he went to Kentucky. So that's traditionally a basketball school, so not traditionally a football school. Josh Allen came from Wyoming, which nobody knows for anything, right? So I'm telling you, man, they're the same. They are the exact same person, just from different universes. That's all that is. That's how Jags Josh Allen always knew where to be because he's been there before. You know what I'm saying?
Is that their first time playing each other? I'm actually curious about that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's probably it's kind of like us, where they follow each other's movement, and eventually one finally creeped out and found them, and now they've matched up.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't realize.
There's more to this. This has universal cosmic significance that these two not only played against each other, but that one Josh Allen performed the way he did against himself.
And I'm surprised that the universe didn't crack and explode at that point.
It might have.
That's a good point.
Start messing with space-time like this.
Oh, God, space-time continuum. So, last game we have here. Let's talk about these Los Angeles Rams playing the Titans. Sunday Night Football. We thought that this should have been a boat race. Derrick Henry's done for majority of the year, if not the entire year. They said indefinitely there are not optimism around him coming back this season. And since there is no optimism about him coming back this season, there's a chance that this ain't going to go down. But the Rams could not make it happen. Matt Stafford turned back into Stat Padford. He threw the ball 48 times, 31 completions, 294 yards, and a tutty. And they lost to the Titans 28-16. Literally, the entire start of the game was Matt Stafford throwing a bad interception. So the defense got them in the red zone immediately, actually on the goal, first and goal after that interception because he tried to avoid a sack that would have led to a safety, which wouldn't have been a safety because of forward progress. He would have just been at the half-yard line. Another story there. And then he threw a pick six, like a possession or so next. And then so he got beat by Ryan Tannehill, who only threw for 143 yards. And they ran for 69 yards. So in this game, Jimmy, Jimmy, the Rams gave up 194 yards, which is lower than what Buffalo gave up to Jacksonville.
Right.
The Rams had 347 total yards in this game. So, Jimmy, is it fair to say that there should be some concerns in Los Angeles? I said turds. There's some concerns in Los Angeles with the Rams.
Yes, there should definitely be concerns with what happened with the Rams because, and I admit, I was conflicted about this game Because on one hand, I decided this season to adopt the Rams as my secondary team because it was my late father's favorite team. I don't know how I became a fan of the division rival 49ers, but I have. So I decided to adopt them. And when you adopt a team, you want them to win. You have warm feelings about them. You buy T-shirts. You do all this stuff.
All the warm and fuzzies,
right?
yeah.
So I watched this as a Rams fan. I watched this as a Rams fan. So you have that side of it. But the other side of it is how they lost. I love seeing teams lose this way. I love seeing.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'll explain. I love seeing finesse teams like the Golden State Warriors.
Oh.
I love seeing finesse teams just get out physical all game long. And that's exactly what this Tennessee team did. They came in there and they physically punished them the entire game. That 300-plus yards, total yards that the Rams had, those were scared yards. They were running away, trying to get away from Tennessee. There was a play, I think it was Jeffrey Simons, who it might have been one of the other guys, Autry, one of the defensive linemen, who literally, now I never played football, you did, but they have those sleds, right, that the linemen practice on.
They push it up.
That he literally pushed one of the offensive linemen for the Rams back and back and back into Matthew Stafford, who I don't know why he didn't go either direction away from that. On the way to sacking him, he backs him up into the quarterback, moves him out of the way, then sacks him before Stafford has had or has thought to do anything other than get sacked. So that's when you know you are being physically dominated by an opponent who is out there just having fun ragdolling you.
Just ragdolling.
That's exactly what they did, and that's what other teams can adopt. So, like, for instance, if they come against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs, you take Tampa. Don't worry about the point spread. Take Tampa because they have the guys on defense to out-physical that team just like they did the Kansas City Chiefs.
Vita Vea just run right
So seeing
through
that,
them.
I'm
Good
concerned because there's no answer for that. There is no answer for teams who are more physical and stronger than you coming in there and asserting their physical dominance over you. There is really little you can do.
No, you're right, because the craziest concern about that is I said this from the beginning. I've gotten backlash from saying this, and I'm going to repeat this to all of you.
Okay.
There will be one reason why the Rams do not win the Super Bowl. His name is Matt Stafford. Period. That doesn't mean Matt Stafford is not good.
Right.
It's that the defense is going to do their job. They held them to 194 yards of offense. Mm-hmm. And it's mainly because the Titans the start of their possession was always favorable. They didn't have to go far to get these touchdowns. They didn't have to go far anything because Matt Stafford was making all the bonehead plays he would make in Detroit. Someone else mentioned this. He's the least scrutinized number one quarterback probably in NFL history. No one truly scrutinized him. He was in Detroit. So we felt bad for him, and I got that. But he also had Calvin Johnson for like his entirety of his career. So he had a wide receiver who was getting doubled that he could still throw to and would still catch it while trying to get it to other people. Calvin Johnson's a Hall of Famer for a reason. For even the short amount of time he played in the NFL, he was that freaking dominant. Matt Stafford is the only problem that the Rams have, and if Matt Stafford can do his part, I promise you the Rams will win it all. But the days that he don't do his part, this is what you're going to see.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you something else I think happened too. At the beginning of the season, how we incurred the wrath of Tennessee Titans fans with our assessment of the team that they're good, not great, will go to the playoffs but won't get through it, is I think that they showed that video to certain members of the Tennessee Titans team.
They sent it to him in a videotape.
But I think that only one of us truly pissed them off, and I think that was me, because you were talking about Ryan Tannehill, their quarterback, that he's good, but he's not going to elevate you. And in this game, Tannehill only had 143 yards, a touchdown, and a pick, so he wasn't the reason why they won the game. I said I have questions about the defense. I'm not sure about this defense. I don't know if you have any elite players. I don't know if even if Derrick Henry runs for 250 yards, if you can stop the other team from running for 300. And I think that really pissed off Tennessee and the defensive players because they've been physical a lot. Their victories have involved some type of physicality. And when you think about it, if you're physical like this on defense and then you have a physical runner when he was on the field like Derrick Henry on offense, that automatically makes you one of the most physical teams in the NFL, meaning you can have a psychological edge over the team you're about to play if they know it's going to be a fist fight on both sides of the ball all four quarters.
Jimmy, they are a 20th ranked defense in DVOA, 14th in pass, 28th in run.
And did that last night. That tells me more about the Rams than it did about Tennessee. But I think that Tennessee has done a good job overall defensively. They've done enough. And as long as the offense do their part, because like
my favorite thing to say, I say this every show, every single segment, video you see, every podcast version of this you listen to, the offense has to help the defense, and the defense has to help the offense. If they do each other, they do their parts. Just like in a marriage, in a relationship, in a partnership, if you do your part, things usually flourish and do very well. And in that game, the Rams defense did all the work while Matt Stafford was sitting on, and the offense was sitting. Well, Matt Stafford was sitting on the couch eating potato chips, asking where my dinner at. Ma, meatloaf tonight? Ma. So we do this every Monday. Jimmy's going to give us the news.
And now Jimmy has the news.
Thank you, Wendy. All right, so, Jay, the Seattle Seahawks sit at the bottom of the NFC West with the 49ers with a 3-5 record, bottom of the division, but they are likely to get their leader back this week as quarterback Russell Wilson has been cleared to play by the doctor, Dr. Stephen Shin, who performed the surgery on his right middle finger a month ago. He's had the pin removed. We saw pictures of that on Twitter or Instagram, whatever it was, about a week ago. So it looks like they're going to get him back this week just in time to face the Green Bay Packers with or without Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, that's a plus for them. Especially since Aaron Rodgers, since we found out he's unvaccinated and lied to us. Well, he was deceptive about his approach to things by using words and a whole bunch of word salad. But anyway, that's a good thing for Seattle. They need their leader. They can go out there. And honestly, I think Geno Smith could beat them too. The Packers defense is not bad at all. They actually have a pretty okay defense, good enough for the NFL. And going against backup quarterbacks, they should be fine. I mean, they're ranked really low DVOA-wise, but without Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, they got no chance.
I mean, it's obvious with Russell Wilson they are going to be better, but I don't think that they're going to be better enough in order to beat the top 3 or 4 teams. I mean, most people, most analysts, anybody who watches the game, if you ask them right now, who would you pick in a matchup between them and the Rams or them and the Bucks or them and the Cowboys, they're picking the other side outside of Seattle, so he'll make them better. He'll make them interesting. They might have a chance if they go on a bit of a streak at some point, sneaking to the playoffs, but ultimately I don't think it will matter. It's going to be a bit of a lost season for Seattle, but they'll be back and hopefully better than ever next season. All right, so up next, sticking with the NFL, free agent receiver Deshaun Jackson is signing with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yay!
He told Josina Anderson before posting an airbrushed picture of himself in a white Raiders throwback jersey on his Instagram page. He turns 35 December 1st, still has blazing speed. Met with Raiders officials via Zoom on Saturday, and he decided to take his talents to Vegas.
Makes sense. That's actually a very good place. They need a burner. I mean, if you really think about it, they're losing players left and right with all of the drama that's going on around there. But that was a great place for him to go, and I think that he's going to be an instant impact.
I think so. I mean, he wanted targets. He wanted more usage. Why the Rams didn't give him the ball more, I'm not exactly sure.
I'm kind of bigger on Van Jefferson as well.
I mean, Van Jefferson's good. I'm not saying get rid of him.
That's why. Because that's your third. That's your basically fourth. That's your fourth receiver. Because you got Higbee, you got Cooper Kupp, who is having a historic season, and Woods is still a monster and is still, all that. Van Jefferson's your burner, and then Tyler Higbee at tight end.
I don't know if Jefferson's a burner. He's got better speed than Woods and Kupp, but I don't know if he's the kind of burner that instills fear like Deshaun Jackson still can in the defense.
All of his catches have really been deep this year.
I'm not sold on him, but we'll see. He's undisputed burner now, so we'll see what he's going to do.
He's starting burner.
All right, so next, again, as we are still in the midst of a pandemic in the COVID area and its effect on sports, the 76ers center Joel Embiid returned a positive test, unfortunately, for COVID-19 on Monday morning. A source told Adrian Wojnarowski he's going to miss Monday's game against the Knicks and will sit for at least 10 days per the NBA's health and safety protocols, which I think basically means he's not vaccinated.
Say how long? 10 days?
10 days? How's the NBA?
I think it is 10. So it's 10 for unvaxxed. So that's probably what. Well, actually, yeah, I think it's 10 for unvaxxed. So, yeah.
So do you think that, minus him, minus Ben Simmons, and they've been playing well. They proved me wrong without Ben Simmons. Do you think without him, they can win more games than they lose over these next 5?
I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. Even though Embiid it depends on who they're playing, though, too. I haven't looked at their schedule. Who they got coming up?
They got the Knicks tonight. So by the time y'all hear this, they will have played the Knicks. I'm not sure who else they play beyond that.
Nothing really. I think they'll be fine. We'll see what it looks like because they kind of need they need that challenge because Ben Simmons ain't coming back. But I think they'll be all right.
All right.
So is that it?
Is it snooze?
And that was Jimmy with the news.
Thank you, Bob. So, Jay, sticking with the NFL, going into this week, one of the most interesting and potentially impactful stories or happenings in the NFL was the decision to part ways with Odell Beckham Jr. And the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, after 2-3 seasons of it just not working, they decided to go their separate ways. And so coming into this weekend, we had two questions on the mind. That is, where is Odell Beckham Jr. going to sign were he to clear waivers? And how would this Browns team, now free from Odell, how would they perform in a game, a real football game against the Cincinnati Bengals, who at one point in the season, 1 week, was considered the best team in the AFC or was in the number one spot. So starting with the Browns come out in this game, Jay, and just completely control this game from start to finish. They look like the team I picked to go to the Super Bowl this season, and you picked to go very far as well, winning 41-14. I mean, offense, defense, Chubb, left hook, right hook, everything is working. Everything's learning. Everything is landing. And Baker Mayfield, clinical, 14 of 21, 200-plus yards, 2 touchdown passes. That's exactly what you want him to be able to do. So they look fantastic. They look free. They look like the team that they were supposed to, just a team full of blue-collar guys executing the Coach of the Year's game plan on the way to dominating a team that is not what we thought they were. So we had that. Did you have any other thoughts on that, on the Browns-Bengals game?
So the running thing about the Browns not having OBJ is that they're better without him. And we said that back when OBJ was hurt last year, the Browns made the playoffs without him. We were really talking through a lot of that. I didn't want to say that they were better without him, but it seems like Baker worries less about him. So when that video and everything came out that OBJ's dad put out there on the internet or whatnot, I don't think OBJ had anything to do with that. I think that was his dad just being pissed off because he wants his son to be successful and excel. And honestly, if you watch the video, there were a lot of plays where Baker just completely missed the opportunity to throw to him.
And I mean, that happens more than you think. There are plenty of times probably DeAndre Hopkins is wide open and Murray just makes a different decision.
Yeah, but as butt naked open as he kind of was, there's a way that there's concern there. But I believe the biggest problem is that Baker's more of a quarterback where he tries to force it to the star receiver when he shouldn't, and then he distributes it when he shouldn't sometimes too. That's probably when he should have passed it to the guy. I think Baker's good, not great. And I think that
I agree.
It's better for him to not have a player like OBJ because then he can hit Donovan Peoples-Jones more. And go down the whole list of all those receivers that they have and just play a power run offense, which the Browns truly are.
And I think, too, that even from a leadership standpoint, even though as the quarterback, you are supposed to be at least the leader of the offense at worst, but at best be the leader of the team.
Yeah.
I think with a personality like Odell Beckham Jr., even though he wasn't necessarily the leader of the team and trying to become the leader of the team, when you have a personality like that's that magnetic, what can happen is if your message or your focus or you as the leader trying to steer the direction of the team is different from this magnetic personality, this larger-than-life personality, there can be conflict there within the locker room. So I think for Baker, from a psychological standpoint, without OBJ there, he is the unquestioned leader of this, at least of this offense, and he's free to truly treat every receiver like they're the same person. Like, my favorite receiver is the one who's open.
Yep.
Whereas when you have someone out there like OBJ, no matter how much you try, you cannot look at them as just another receiver. I'll hit you when you get open.
Yeah, they're not.
So I think that just from that standpoint, just that effect on the team or that effect on Baker, at least in this game, had a net positive impact, and that's a huge part of the reason why they were able to do this to the Cincinnati. They made the Bengals look like the Bengals.
They really did.
And I hate that because I love what was happening with the Bengals, with Burrow, with Mixon finally having better offensive players around him, with Jamar Chase, but
they couldn't do anything in that game. It was, Joe Mixon got a little bit. Jamar Chase was kind of he kind of disappeared in this game. Didn't get any deep plays he normally would. So Cleveland did their job, and they continue the narrative that they play a lot better when OBJ's not there. So if they make the playoffs, while OBJ's gone, there's nothing else to say. So speaking of your boy OBJ, you had something.
I did. So now we're left with OBJ. The idea was for him to clear waivers.
Yeah, he's going to clear waivers.
He's going to clear waivers.
He's already told teams that if you pick me up, you're going to have hell to pay.
Problems. Problems.
Problems.
Yep. So
do we have a problem? That's what's going to happen if you touch him on waivers.
So when he clears waivers and he'll become a free agent at that point, he can choose essentially any team that will have him, any team that he feels like is the best fit for him. So we know that with OBJ, with his personality off the field, his playing ability, he's already said that he wants a team that can contend in the postseason, and we know that he wants a team that is in a city that will help him to more easily further. He can further his brand from anywhere, but more easily further his brand. So we know all that's taken into consideration as well as the quarterback. So with that, Jay, for you, who would you say would be the top 2 or top 3 best fits for Odell Beckham Jr. based upon what he wants out of his next team?
So you've got really 4 options. He's going to clear, correction. You got 5 options. He's going to clear waivers, so we know that's going to happen. But I think 5 teams could really use him and be absurdly good. Mm-hmm. We'll start off with both the Los Angeles teams. Okay. I think you put him in L.A., he's going to be Hollywood, but then you can kind of blend him in with all the other guys. Blend him in with the greats of what Cooper Kupp is doing for the Rams. Blend him in with what Mike Williams is doing. Ridiculously out there with the Chargers. He's never good when he's on your fantasy team.
No, he's
ever.
Not. No, he's not.
Ever. I'm trying to figure out how he ends up on anybody else's fantasy team this year because he's never good when he's on an actual team. But anyway. So you've got the Chargers. You've got the Rams. I think those 2 are 2 good options. Mm-hmm. Next, of course, is the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. They love the Hollywoodness, and they like guys that are kind of disgruntled and issues, I guess you could say. But I think he'd be really good with Dak and the squad. That would be a nice place for him to show up, giving them a third wide receiver that's ridiculous and he can play good with. Fourth, I think Tampa Bay, playing with Tom Brady. Who else makes sense? Tom Brady. That's it. You just go down there, Tom Brady, try to win a Super Bowl with all the other stacked players they have. And my fifth one, actually, no, my fifth one's tied. So I'm gonna go 6 teams. Okay. Fifth one I tie with the Ravens and the Bills. I think you put him in either one of those 2 teams. Woo, woo, woo. But the problem is with the Bills, they're not a market he's going to want to go to because Buffalo's considered a small market. He wants to advance himself. Buffalo, that's why I put them at kind of 6. But I think if he went there, they would be obscenely good. Because Josh Allen's going to find a way to just throw that dang thing in the air. He's going to just throw it just to throw it. So you take advantage of that. But Baltimore, putting him out there with Bateman and Hollywood, Lamar's going to find you when he feels like it, and they're not going to take any mess from you. So I think that will probably be my 5th one.
Okay. When I first wrote the list for what I felt were the top 4, top 5 teams, they were all teams to where in the receiving game he would probably end up being the 3rd option. Well, I won't say that. I will say that there are already 2 established pass catchers there who are Pro Bowl level. So then I thought, okay, it depends on how many targets he's wanting. If he felt like he didn't get enough looks, enough targets thrown his way, and that's a big part of what he's wanting, then he may prioritize several teams over others. Or if he wants to go to a team, good quarterback or great quarterback, chance to contend in the postseason in a decent market, then maybe he would be more likely to choose that team, even if it meant having to sacrifice targets because he knows he's not going to be the top option because he already has 2 established guys there and he's coming in to that situation, doesn't even know the playbook. So all that considered, I ranked them. I'll go from 5 to 1. I had 8 teams on the list, but I'll go from 5 to 1.
Okay.
One of them, and I'm surprised you brought this up in a sense because I didn't catch on to this till today. At 5, I had Dallas. Like you said, the brand, the star power. I mean, outside of L.A. or New York teams, you would probably say that the Dallas brand, actually, they're above them NFL-wise.
NFL-wise, yes.
Yeah. So you have a really good quarterback. You have a chance to contend in the postseason this year. So, and you know that Dallas is known for making these types of splashes historically. I mean, you think T.O.
Yeah.
But I thought about, what about that that Dak-Dez Bryant dynamic that they had? And that's part of the reason why they let Dez Bryant go, because they didn't want some guy acting like Jerry Rice, always in his ear about getting more targets, no matter how many he got. It's never enough.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But at the same time, Dez was already on that team, so this rookie comes in to his team, his turf, his territory. That's different than this being Dak's team, and now you're coming into Dak's team. Yeah. So that may not matter as much, but I would say they're probably the 5th best option. Okay. So they're 5. Number 4, I would say the Chargers. I really like their coach. Obviously, you love the city. You love the quarterback. You're in the AFC, which gives you a chance to get revenge on the Browns. And you have 2 elite defensive players on the other side, which is kind of what you're used to. I mean, you go from Myles Garrett to Joey Bosa, and they have Derwin James Jr., one of the best safeties in the game. So I think that's a good spot. If he landed there, I'd be like, okay, that's good. That makes sense. Good spot. So that's 4. 3, the Chiefs. This won't fix the Chiefs' problems and whether or not Patrick Mahomes and that offense is truly broken. And like I said, you have Tyreek Hill and you have Travis Kelce already on that team. But opposite Tyreek Hill, they're dying for someone who's in that Sammy Watkins role. And when is he ever going to have the chance to play with the quarterback at the talent level of Patrick Mahomes? Because we know that Patrick Mahomes, he's still Patrick Mahomes in there. It's just something has happened and they have to fix it. But when is he ever going to have another opportunity to play with a Patrick Mahomes-like quarterback, right? So that's 3. 2, Ravens. And this would be my top choice if he wants plenty of targets. Now, I know that Andrews gets his, and I know that Hollywood is the burner. But I do think Lamar, he would make an extra effort to, as bad as this kind of sounds, force some passes to him, which is part of what it sounds like. That was some of what he was wanting Baker to do outside of the times that he was just butt naked wide open, right?
Yeah.
But I think that he wouldn't have to worry about getting enough targets in this offense. And again, they got a good defense. They're a championship level organization, and you're still pretty close to that New York East Coast money. So I think that the Ravens could be a good spot for him as well. And they seem to treat players really, really good too, I think. So that's something you want to think about as well.
Yeah. Because
what he may also be thinking is if I get to a spot and I really like it here, I want to be in a place that potentially cap space wise or aggressive level wise would come after me, would really pursue me to stay if things go good here. And so you wanted it to be a team that you could foresee yourself being with the next 3 to 5 years. So that's 2. Number 1, Rams. Like you said, A-City, I think, quarterback, he's got the arm to hit me when I'm open down the field. That's what I care about the most. So I can't say A quarterback because it is still Matthew Stafford. 4 weeks ago, you probably would have said A quarterback. Now we're going to say B quarterback.
He played with Calvin Johnson, and he found a way to get the ball to Calvin Johnson on a regular basis. So, yeah, that does make sense.
And at the same time, I bet OBJ thinks that he is he's physically more gifted than Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see that. I can agree with that.
So he says, I could go in here, I could be the number 1, at least the number 2, and that will net me plenty of targets, right? So you have a good defense on the other side of you as well. 2 of the best defensive players, maybe the 2 best defensive players in the game. I know Myles Garrett might be in there somewhere, Trayvon Diggs, but 2 great defensive players. And the Super Bowl is going to be in this stadium. So if I'm talking about contending, going through the postseason, this team is one of the top teams in the NFC, and we could be in this building to play this Super Bowl, and I could be just that one extra thing that if they would have had me last night against Tennessee, they wouldn't have got beat. Well, they would have got beat, but not 28-16. More 28-24. We don't feel as bad on Monday morning if you have me. So that's what I think. Rams 1, Ravens 2, Chiefs 3, Chargers 4, Cowboys 5.
Well, we'll find out Tuesday when he clear waivers. So when you watch this on Tuesday or listen to this on Tuesday, by then we'll know at 4 o'clock who he's going to, after he clears waivers, who he's going to make his decision to go with. So all right. Thanks for checking us out here on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, rate, review on wherever podcasts download, listen to, and share, because why? Sharing is caring. So we appreciate the continued support and the growth in YouTube channel. We're almost at 200 subscribers, and we're gonna fly up to the thousands right after that. So Frozen 5 take another L this week. Not as bad. Went 2-3. Let me explain myself real quick. My 5 picks as it was my week. First are L's, and then I'll explain my dubs. But L's. Texans plus 6.5. Tyrod Taylor was coming back. I expected them to actually play a lot better than this. They lost, 17-9. They lost by 9 points. Right. 8 points 8. Instead of 6.5. Yeah, that a field goal and we were good.
Right.
Stupid. Or at least 1 touchdown. Whatevs. 49ers plus 1.5. Sorry, Jimmy. Nobody on the Cardinals was really playing. They didn't have Hopkins or Kyler, and your Niners defensively thought they're falling apart.
They gave up.
They're falling apart.
They fell apart, and then they gave up.
So we've got questions about the coaching there.
Yes.
And then the Dallas Cowboys at -9.5. I thought Dak coming back. Mm-hmm. The Broncos gave up the farm. It looks like they were throwing in the towel, but I guess the Broncos decided we're not going to throw in the towel. We just got rid of the one piece that we truly don't need to get everybody else to the next man step up. So I was wrong about that. Cowboys weren't ready. Oh yeah, the Cowboys has covered every spread for 12 straight games, including last year. They were perfect this season, and I just knew, they're perfect. Keep riding that train. All right. My dubs, though, the Browns +2.5. I knew they were going to beat the Bengals. I expected them to actually win that game, and they win it even better. No more OBJ. Perfect. Got rid of the distractions. They did their thing. And then the Patriots -3.5. The Panthers are done. And I'm actually mad at myself for trading for their defense because I'm regretting it. That was a very bad trade. Yeah, I shouldn't have traded for that defense.
I mean, Gilmore gave you an interception. I mean, I think they're still a good defense. I give them another week or two.
They're done. No, they're done. This season's over. Their offense is their problem. Right. Their offense is basically not helping the defense.
They got C-Mac back too.
So that was my picks. That was bad. I shouldn't have did it. But we're gonna go ahead and move into. We're gonna bring back the $7 challenge this week. We're gonna do some early lines because Jimmy needs to rebound
early start.
The Frozen 5. So you ready to get it?
I am.
You feeling yourself? Let's go for it. The $7 challenge.
Jimmy's got questions.
Which, let me ask you this though, because you know how it comes to.
Jay's got answers.
Yeah, that was terrible.
You did well.
It's the $7 challenge.
Oh, it gets every
time. All right. So this week's $7 challenge presented by me. We're going to do early lines.
Okay.
So Jimmy, let's see. I got 7 lines. Let's see if you can get within a 1.5.
Either way, right?
Either way.
Okay.
A 1.5 either way on these spreads. 7, and man, this week is ridiculous. So, think you ready?
Yep.
You feeling yourself?
I am.
All right, brace yourself, Jimmy, because it's gonna be a lot of work. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. So, first game. The Dallas Cowboys hosting the Atlanta Falcons.
All right, Cowboys hosting Falcons off of that really bad loss that everybody saw. Is Dallas Falcons surprising team 4-4. They had that whatever that was last year when they played in Dallas, right? And Falcons found a way to jizz the game. So no way the Cowboys aren't the favorites in this game. It's a matter of how much. I'm going to say Cowboys -4.
Ooh, no. Incorrect. What? Dallas -9.
Okay. All right.
Ready?
All right, Vegas. Yep.
We've got the New Orleans Saints traveling to play the Tennessee Titans.
Saints take Trevor Siemian, no Michael Thomas, to the Titans. Titans feel good about themselves off of winning the way that they did. Might actually be tied for the best record in the AFC.
And they're in Tennessee.
Saints know it's over. So obviously Tennessee is the favorite. All right, since that Falcons-Cowboys line was greatly inflated, I'm going to say the Titans are a -7-point favorite.
Incorrect. Titans -3.
So that's gonna be a close game, but okay, whatever.
Vegas thinks they're a lot closer than we thought.
All right.
Next game, the Arizona Cardinals are hosting the Carolina Panthers.
Panthers
in Arizona.
That card, so you just crapped all over. Okay, now this is tricky because we don't know if Kyler Murray is going to be right enough to play, nor DeAndre Hopkins. So I don't know if this line has that baked into it or not. Panthers, like you said, their season is over. Yeah, you got C-Mac back. I think DJ Moore, he's got a rib injury, so you may not have him. So, okay, we're going to say Cards are the favorite. Cards -5.
Good Lord, no.
What?
Cardinals -10.
Okay. I'm just going to short myself.
I warned you that this was going to be brutal. All right, we've got the Raiders hosting the Chiefs.
All right, Raiders hosting Chiefs, Sunday night game. Raiders bad loss to the Giants. Chiefs found a way to eke out a win against an Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay Packers. I still say Vegas will make the Chiefs the favorite, even though they're playing on the road against a team that plays them tough these last 2 to 3 seasons. Chiefs -1.
Close. Chiefs 2.5.
Okay.
So good job.
I got that right.
Yeah, you got that one. That was right.
Finally.
You got it.
Chiefs minus 2.5.
Chiefs minus 2.5.
All right, let's go.
All right. We got the Eagles traveling to play the Broncos. So Denver Broncos versus the Eagles in Denver.
Eagles at Broncos, feeling good about themselves. Eagles lost a close one to the Chargers, but the Eagles play tough as well. The Eagles might actually be the favorite in this game.
Philadelphia in Denver. Remember that.
Right. Never mind. Okay, so the Broncos are the favorite. This has a field goal game written over it. But I'm going to short myself and say no. I'm going to give Broncos minus 6.
Good Lord. No.
Eagles the favorite?
No. Broncos are favorites. They're favored by 2.5. So there's a field goal game, just like you said.
Crap.
Okay, next game. We've got the Patriots hosting the Cleveland Browns.
Patriots hosting the Cleveland Browns.
So
Ooh, Belichick versus Baker. Who's the favorite in this game? I have no clue. Let's say it's now. What would Vegas want? They want you on Cleveland, knowing that the Patriots are either going to win this game or cover, because they still think you don't believe in Mac Jones, and now everybody is saying, like me, that the Browns are going to go to the Super Bowl. We've all come back, so they're going to make. Okay, so they want you on the Browns, but they know the Patriots are going to cover. So the number that would give them that would be. So if I said I get points on the road against the Patriots and Belichick, I'll take that. Patriots minus 4.
No.
What?
Pick them.
Okay, that'll do it too. I mean, they still expect the Patriots to win.
Yeah. So, well, here's your freebie. Right. Hoping that you can understand this freebie. We've got the Steelers hosting the Detroit Lions.
Lions at Steelers. All right, so we know the Steelers are going to be the favorite, even if Mike Tomlin has to play quarterback himself. Lions, I think we're on a bye week. One of the saddest stories in football this season, which just means that they're Detroit. That's all.
Yep, welcome to Detroit.
Steelers. The Steelers haven't even played their Monday night game yet, and they already have a line on this game? That's crazy. All right. I'm going to go. They're probably going to say the Steelers at home. Big Ben is a much better quarterback at home. I'm going to pummel them. Steelers minus 8.
Correct. It was minus 9.
All right, there we go.
There we go, man.
Let's go. Got any more? Is that it? That's all of them?
Yeah, is it?
All right.
I told you he was going to hate me because those were some. When I saw them, I was like, these are some absurd lines. Like this.
So what are they trying to do?
Sense.
Like Falcons. Okay, so the Falcons getting 9 in Dallas. So they are essentially wanting you to think that the Cowboys are going to blow the Falcons out,
or the Falcons are going to do what Denver did in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone's going to bet on the Falcons because they're in Dallas, just like Denver was in Dallas at 9.5.
So this line makes you want to bet the Falcons, right?
Yes.
You give me 9 points against a Cowboys team that
looked really bad against Denver.
Really bad, yeah. So then the right side would probably be Cowboys.
Yeah, I'd go balls deep in the Cowboys this week. This is the week that they should not have They shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't be minus 9. They shouldn't have lost that Denver game. They just looked. Mm-hmm. Rusty. So
the Saints at the Titans, Saints getting 3 points. That's only because the Saints still have a really good defense, I think.
Yes, they have the top 5 defense in the NFL.
Okay, so they want you on you'd be a fool not to take Tennessee, so they want you on Tennessee.
Yes.
So the sharp side is
they're at home because Tennessee's a much better team. And the Saints just lost to the Falcons. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense to take Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So I would go all in on the Saints would do damage to those corners,
what you think
those
about
receivers.
That Patriots-Browns pick 'em. What you think about that? Because the Patriots are emerging as one of the better teams in the AFC that we don't talk about.
They really are, and I could totally see Belichick scheming beautifully against Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. Take away your best weapon, Nick Chubb.
Yep.
Force Baker to beat you.
Yeah, throw 40 times a game, Baker.
Yep.
Beat me that way.
Force him to do that, and that's, I think, what they do because Matthew Judon is out there playing really good.
Oh, man.
Their defense is really good. So, and then J.C. Jackson out here just leading the league in interceptions 3 seasons in a row. Freaking Belichick in these corners. How does he do it?
He's a wizard, man. He's a wizard.
He's a wizard, man. He is a Dr. Doom. Okay, so we'll jump right into one word.
Okay.
This will be quick. It should be quick and easy.
Yeah.
But there was so many storylines going on in the NFL that we kind of had to make this NFL centric because there's so much going on. So, Jimmy, I'm going to let you go ahead and give me one word on these topics.
Okay.
On what you feel like is going on with these teams. All right?
Okay.
Jordan Love at quarterback for the Packers.
Average. You're okay. You are not fit to be the quarterback of this team post Aaron Rodgers, because that's part of the reason why is the lineage that you follow. To go from Hall of Famer Brett Favre to immunized future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers to you, especially given how much time you've had in this offense. Well, sideline time, in the film room time, but not on the field time. I didn't see anything that makes me believe that he's the quarterback of the future for this team. I think he can be average somewhere. He could be somewhere, come in as a backup, do a few good things, maybe win a couple of games. But outside of that, I didn't see anything special in his performance. I'd like to see him again, honestly, in this game against Seattle, just to give me a little bit more data. But he just looked average. He looked all right.
Disappointing was mine.
So you expected more.
I expected a lot more. He's been in the system for a full year, did not play last year, came in this year only because he had to. And now I get that he was thrusted out there because of the emergency situation with Aaron Rodgers and that Rona. But I expected him to know the playbook a little bit better. I think it was Collinsworth that mentioned this on the broadcast, that they treated him with kid gloves and gave him. Was it Collinsworth that said that? Did they broadcast him? I can't remember.
No.
They were the Sunday night team. I'm sorry. I forgot who the broadcaster was.
It wasn't Romo, was it?
No, it wasn't Romo. Gosh, I can't remember who it was. I'm sorry. I screwed that up. But the broadcaster mentioned that they gave him a dumbed down version of the playbook. He's been there a year and some change. Why would you give him a dumbed down version? He should be a better prepared, even in his second year, to at least go out there and jump in. So that gave me concerns. So I was pretty disappointed that he couldn't even muster against one of the worst defense we've ever seen in the NFL. He barely got that one touchdown, which that one touchdown was great because it actually propelled me in daily fantasy and won me $1,000. So I'll take it.
Congrats.
All right. Next up, Patrick Mahomes is struggling. One word for Patrick Mahomes struggles.
Broken.
You think he's broken too?
He looks broken. The offense looks broken. Everything about what they're trying to do looks 13 points when we're used to the 3 and the 1 being reversed and then putting up 31 or more on teams easily. Especially a team like this. Now the Packers still have some pretty decent defensive players, but we've had 3, 4, 5 games of this where Mahomes has just looked broke. Last week against the Giants, he looked broken then as well. They have no answer for consistently facing 2 high safeties where they can't continue to just bomb people down the field, and then when you're worried about that, hit Travis Kelce underneath. So they look broken. They can be fixed. Mahomes is still Mahomes, but it just looks broken, and it's costing me wins in fantasy. By the way, like my record is essentially what their record is in real life, because whenever he sucks, I suck. So,
yeah, that's true.
He's broken. My team is broken. My fantasy team is broken, and the Kansas City Chiefs offense is broken.
They're broken. Solved is my one word. So we keep talking about how teams are figuring out players. He's solved. They've solved them, and this is how they've solved them. There was a video that was circulating around. I think I sent that to the group text. Patrick Mahomes talking about how he started playing quarterback his junior year in high school. He's a safety before that, which is even more weird. He went through college. He just now started figuring out tendencies and defenses in 2020, halfway through the season in 2020.
Yeah.
He said that on the LeBron James, the shop. He said that on the shop to Maverick Carter and all of them.
Yeah.
He said that he just started to figure out the tendencies in defense. Not figuring out defenses, but the tendencies, additional stuff, the more nuanced portion of figuring out a defense. He just started doing that 2020. Teams solved and figured out that he doesn't really know their tendencies, and they're starting to adjust themselves for it. That's also the last thing on that. This was all the concerns about Patrick Mahomes that they had before he got drafted. The willy-nilliness on the passes, the bad mechanics, the bad decision-making. He's kind of doing all that stuff now. So he's out there playing backyard football, and that backyard football caught up with him. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, the backyard shrinking.
Shrinking dramatically all around him. Okay. Lamar Jackson's comebacks this season. One word on Lamar Jackson mounting a bunch of comebacks.
Confidence.
Ooh.
That there are going to be at least 1 to 2 times in the playoffs this season where he's going to have to do just that. So building the confidence in the regular season to be able to do that, to be able to overcome those first half deficits when things aren't going right, or when it looks like Kirk Cousins is about to beat you and then you realize he's Kirk Cousins and that we have a chance to come back and win this game. And so building that confidence in the regular season to be able to do this in the postseason, I think has been one of the missing ingredients that Lamar Jackson has needed, or that people have said he couldn't do in order to get to the next level as an elite quarterback. So that's what he's getting, confidence.
I can see that. I like that word. I'm going to steal it too. Okay. Confidence. So Lamar, the team, the narrative around him was that he could not lead his team to a comeback. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to throw the ball 30-something times to win games. He couldn't do it before. He was 0-6, including the playoffs in his first 3 seasons, including the playoffs when trailing by 10 points or more. He's done it 3 times this year already. He's come back from, 4 games this year with the Lions, the Vikings, the Chiefs, and the Colts games. Lamar is showing a lot of confidence in just being a passer. He's getting his receivers. The receivers are developing better. This is the one thing. We talked about how the biggest struggle that the Ravens had is that they didn't have wide receivers, good enough wide receivers for Lamar. And I will say that his first 2 years, yes. But we're in the 3rd year now, and these players are starting to evolve themselves. Hollywood's getting better at his route running, and he's getting open, and he's actually now he's catching the ball, because at the beginning of the season he dropped 3 touchdowns, and he realized that I got to do better about this. Yeah. Andrews has always been him, but Andrews had tendencies of dropping, but he's starting to get more confident. He's catching. So I think if the confidence is starting to just seep into everybody on the roster on the offensive side, especially because they have a running back by committee and they're still putting up rushing yards. You still have to not only respect Lamar Jackson, but you got to still respect Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman. You still got Tyshawn Williams. You got to respect all of them running the ball as well, even when Lamar is out there running for 100-something yards. So, yeah, he's putting up that confidence, and he's the MVP.
And it's funny is since the Chiefs, since their broken offense has become more and more unwatchable television-wise, this Ravens team has become more and more watchable and more exciting in a sense to kind of fulfill that voice. So they're going in opposite directions, whereas it took the Ravens a few seasons to really get that pass game to the level that it's at right now. So I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Got San Francisco 49ers. One word on the state of your 49ers.
Failure. Abject, unequivocal, 100% pathetic failure. That was one of the worst defensive performances I have ever seen in my entire life, where you let a running back, and James Conner is a good back, but there is no way that he should just be running through your defense like the way that he was, especially when you have Nicky Bosa and Fred Warner out there. Mm-hmm. There is no reason for that to be happening. That's our will is broken. That is we've given up. That is we don't want to play football anymore.
We're done.
Yeah. So that was and what makes it even worse is that I think Jimmy G, despite having another eyes closed pick, did have a good game, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 2 touchdowns on the ground last week. He's actually put together these 2 performances back-to-back are probably the best 2 back-to-back performances he's had since maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. So he's been pretty good, even though it wasn't good enough to elevate this team beyond what James Conner and that offense was doing. Somehow Colt McCoy was scrambling. He never scrambled for first downs when he was in college, when your athleticism is nearly at its peak, or any of the places that he's been in. But he was scrambling for first downs. How is that possible? How are you not catching him?
Yeah, no, you're right. And
failure.
Well, for me, it's refresh. Time to refresh. Time to move on probably from Shanahan, or put some pressure on this guy. This is your problem. So Shanahan has been there since 2017. This is his 5th season there. Mm-hmm. In 3 of the 4 seasons there, they were either last in their division or 3rd in their division. They had the 1 year where they went to the Super Bowl at 13-3. But Shanahan has had a losing record every season outside of that. That should be a concern. He wanted Jimmy Garoppolo. They traded for him and got him. He ain't working, obviously. He wanted to draft Trey Lance and then give up a whole bunch of draft picks to do it. They keep running quarterback power with a dude that shouldn't be running quarterback power.
Run at the defensive line, Trey. It'll be all right.
Exactly. That should be a concern. Every 49ers fan, y'all should be concerned about what the hell they're doing here. This is a problem.
I think this may be another one of those cases, and in a sense, it's okay if this happens, that as it turns out, it may be possible that Kyle Shanahan, we know he's an ace offensive coordinator, but maybe he is just not an ace head coach.
He's not, and I think that's what it is. He's probably much better at coordinator, just like my feelings with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's done a phenomenal job with the Cowboys defense. I think he's a great defensive coordinator. I think he can make things happen. You let him pick the pieces that he really needs. I think that's the same thing with Shanahan. Shanahan does a great job with every quarterback except for the ones that he actually handpick. Yeah, about that. I mean, he did Matt Ryan some, buddy.
Yeah, we do not have the draft pick to fall back on because I know it originally traded to Miami, but I think they did a deal with Philly. So I think Philly might actually have the pick.
You better go try to figure out how to trade back for it. Right. Offer up a pick. That, Jimmy? So on the editing room floor, we actually have some good stuff on the editing room floor. I'm going to kick it off from you.
Yes, you do.
College football has been crazy, and I thought that this is something we should talk about. The College Football Playoff Committee put out their first set of rankings. I was very much disappointed. If you did see, I dropped a video last Thursday with my disappointment in how they set it up. The initial rankings were Georgia at number 1, Alabama at number 2, Michigan State at number 3, Oregon at number 4, and then your first two out were Oregon State and Cincinnati, which meant that the undefeated Oklahoma Sooners were 8 with Michigan at 7, Wake Forest undefeated at 9, and Notre Dame at 10. So, Jimmy, do you think they got it right going into this past weekend of all the shuffle?
No, I mean, obviously we all know that Oklahoma, with a perfect record, was disrespected.
In every way, shape, or form.
And I think it's not only they were disrespected because of the teams that they played, but more so because they struggled in a few of those games. But nonetheless, I mean, if you say the same thing about them, you have to say the same thing about Cincinnati, right? That their schedule isn't anything to really be impressed by either. So I think that they moved them there, but I still think the plan is for them to – there's some course correction built into the rest of the season so long as Oklahoma continues to win all of their games. So I think that there's a pathway for them to still get into that top 4 and hopefully set us up for that television show that we're looking for between them and Georgia. I think there's a way to do that, but obviously just from that standpoint, and even with Michigan State, even having them at 3, I thought was still somewhat questionable.
Yeah.
Even off of that victory against Michigan, I understand that. But something just about that just didn't quite feel right to me.
Yeah, your argument for Michigan State being up there is that they beat a team that's in the top 10, right? That would be your argument, right? Cincinnati did the same thing.
Right.
They beat Notre Dame, who's number 10. So Cincinnati has the same argument as Michigan State has, and I guess as you go down the line in the games, well, everything changed because we had Michigan State lose. We had Wake Forest lose. Alabama barely beat LSU, and that looked really bad in that game. Cincinnati struggled against Tulsa. They won 28-20. Ohio State struggled, I guess you could say, against Nebraska, but they beat them by 9 points instead of when Oklahoma beat them by 7. And that Ohio State was on the road. Oklahoma was at home. So the next set of rankings are coming out. And Georgia started off slow, but did what they do best, beat the dog side out of a team. So, Jimmy, when it comes to the rankings, what do you think it's going to look like coming up?
Okay, I think you're still going to have – you're going to stand pat with Georgia 1. You're going to have Bama 2. I think that – now, Oregon, they've got the head-to-head over Ohio State, right?
Yeah, they beat Ohio State in Ohio State, which I think is a big deal that we're not talking about.
Yeah, so they're going to move them to 3, move Ohio State to 4. Cincinnati should not be struggling with Tulsa like that, so I think that that's going to push them back behind Oklahoma. Michigan – they're either going to be 5 or 6. I'm going to say, you win convincingly 29-7 against a basketball school, Indiana, right? I still think OU will probably be 6, even though they should be 5. But I still think that they're in a really good position in order to still get into the top 4. So, Sooner fans at this point, don't worry about it. Yes, you need to take care of business against Baylor, who just lost as well. But I think it's going to be Georgia, Bama, Oregon, Ohio State.
Who's your last two out?
I'm going to put Oklahoma 5, Michigan 6.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm opposite. I believe that struggle against a team, a LSU team who's got a lame duck coach, and they're slowly deteriorating. And I think they were missing like 15 players or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was bad for them to have nobody on their team. And Alabama is not the juggernaut we thought they were. So, to me, this is what the rankings should look like. Georgia's at number 1. Cincinnati needs to move up to number 2. Oregon should be 3. And I'll give them a little respect. I'm going to say Ohio State should go to number 4 with Oklahoma at 5 and Michigan at number 6. So mainly because Cincinnati beat Notre Dame, who will be number 8 in these rankings at the end of this week in South Bend. That's a big deal that we're not, because Oregon's win over Ohio State, the only reason why they're still ranked higher than them, even though it's a head-to-head, they lost on the road to Stanford, unranked Stanford. They beat them in Ohio State. That's a big deal.
Well, okay, so you think the committee will, so they beat Tulsa 28-20, you're at 6, so you think the committee will be impressed by that enough, and given the struggles of Alabama, in order to move Cincy all the way up to 2? I think that's too big of a leap.
It is too big of a leap.
Maybe 4? I could see that.
I could see 4 too. They're gonna for some reason continue to keep Alabama at 2 possibly. This is the rankings I would do, but what they're gonna do is gonna be Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, and then Cincinnati will probably jump because Notre Dame moves up, and because Notre Dame moves up, that gives Cincinnati a little bit more respect because Notre Dame is ranked so high.
But when it's all said and done, Bama may be out of this because they still have to face Georgia. They're going to have to face Georgia in the SEC championship.
They can play Auburn before that too.
And Auburn before that. So let's say they end the season with 2 losses. You can't put them ahead of teams that have 1 loss or 0 losses.
Yes.
So it's looking like, because I really do believe that they want Oklahoma and Georgia in that championship game. So you got to get Oklahoma to 2 or 3. So if you get Alabama out, you
move Alabama probably down to 4. Well, they'll either have to be 4. Well, if they lose to Georgia, they're out. There's no way you put a 2-loss Alabama in the playoffs.
So then you could have Oregon, maybe Oregon and Oklahoma at 2 and 3, and then maybe Ohio State at 4. So then you have Georgia, Ohio State, and then you have Oregon and Oklahoma. Now, Oregon traditionally has a pretty high-flying offense, right? Do they?
Typically, yeah.
And I know they got that defensive player, Kayvon Thibodeau.
Oh, God,
maybe
he's
the
stupid.
first pick, second pick, whatever. Yeah, so it's shaping up. So the committees, they're in a good spot. They're in a really good spot to give us the proper television show with the best ratings, which is what they truly care about.
That's the thing that bothers me is that we're working on ratings instead of respecting teams that are playing the actual games on the field.
But they don't pay the bills, though.
Yeah, good point. Well, we appreciate y'all joining us as usual here on Unfair Sports. Thank you for checking us out here on YouTube as well as wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're there, please rate us, review us, like us, subscribe us, and comment. Give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Man, just give us 5 anyway.
Gift it.
All right, so from Mike, Bob, and Wendy, thank you so much for doing your thing on the back end side. For your favorite co-host, Jimmy, keep a lookout. We'll have the fantasy episode with OSG. Jimmy will have his solo with the topic and his Frozen 5 later in the week.
Yep.
I'm probably going to post a video post the college football playoff selection on Tuesday. My instant reaction so that I can complain like I like to do and I deserve to do, because complaining is what we deserve to get, because it's preposterous that they think that we don't deserve to have undefeated teams in the playoffs. So with that, we'll chat up with y'all in a few days.
Peace.